Today I'm going to show you guys how the different elements work in Borderlands 4. So let's go. In Borderlands, we have 6 different types of elements. So the first one we have is kinetic, which is just normal bullets, and they do 100% damage all across the board to all types in Borderlands, and it's very useful, especially with certain characters. To keep this part of the video shorter, I'm going to put ourselves into hard mode only, so I won't be looking at easy and normal, but you can see that on your screen and you can take a screenshot for yourself as well. The first one that you're really going to come across though is the fire symbol. That's incendiary, and you'll do 175% damage to flesh. You'll do 50% damage reduction to shield and 50% damage reduction to armor. So whenever you see a red health on your screen for your enemy, use your fire and then switch over to a different one depending on what else they have. Maybe switch over to kinetic if they have shield and armor, and then you can use fire on flesh. So I'm literally going to use a flamethrower right now, and this is my fire weapon, and it melts red health. As you can see, I do a lot of damage, and the enemy continues to take damage after they have been ignited. You gotta be careful if the enemy has a fire symbol next to their name. Even if they have red health, it means you'll actually heal them if you hit them with fire damage. Some normal enemies and bosses who have a fire symbol next to their name won't be healed when you hit them with fire, but you will do very little damage to them, so just switch over to something else. So shock damage does a 50% damage reduction to flesh, so that's red health. It does 175% damage to shield, and it does a 50% damage reduction to armor. So you'll only do half your damage against flesh and armor, and against shield you do 175%, and that's the blue health in this game. So I'm going to change the bullet sponge over to blue health so you can see that. And if you're wondering where these dummies are in general, you can just go here to Bones of Sanctuary. It's all the way on the right hand side of the map, all the way over there. And this is where you could do some of your testing for DPS and damage. And so I'm going to test my shock damage now. This is a very good weapon, and as you can see, I am absolutely destroying the enemy's shield. And once again, similar to setting them on fire, if you can electrocute them, the enemy will continue to take a little bit of tick damage afterwards. Corrosive damage does a 50% damage reduction to flesh. It does 50% damage reduction to shield, and it does 175% damage increase to armor. And armor is actually the yellow one, not the green one. Let me show you. So this is what armor looks like. It is a yellow one, and most robots are going to have this. A lot of badasses are going to have this. Get a corrosive weapon and shoot. Once again, you're going to take the shield out very quickly, and once you poison the enemy, they're going to continue to take a small bit of damage. But now that it's on red health, it's very slow. So cryo is 100% good against flesh, and it's 50% damage reduction against shield, and it's 150% damage increase against armor. Cryo is a very good all-rounder because a lot of enemies are going to have red and yellow health. Not as many enemies are going to have shield, and shields tend to be weaker than armor in my experience at least. So getting the 50% damage reduction on shields, you could probably just DPS through that, and you could use cryo on flesh and armor. But make sure you try and use the correct one. I mean, being lazy isn't the correct way to play, but at the end of the day, sometimes we're a little bit lazy. So here is my cryo gun now, and we are going to use this against armor because it's strong against armor, and this enemy also has red health, which we do normal damage to. And one thing that you might not see here with this dummy, but you'll see it with normal enemies, is they will start to freeze, and you can kind of see it a little bit here. And if you do enough frost damage to an enemy, they actually freeze completely and turn into a solid block of ice, which means you can kind of kill enemies a little bit sooner before actually taking out all of their health if you do enough frost damage to them. So cryo is really powerful in Borderlands 4, and any guns that you find that have cryo in them, try and keep them just in case they end up being part of a really good build later on. Finally, we have radiation, which does 100% damage to flesh, 150% damage increased to shield, and a 50% damage reduction to armor. And radiation, I don't usually use that much, but it is actually kind of useful, especially if you have shield. One of the best weapons you can get would be something on the lines of shock and radiation together. and then have a cryo set up next to each other, you're going to do maximum amount of damage to shields, as you can see here. And then you bring out your cryo for when you're taking on armor. Once again, radiation is going to do a radiation buildup, and then the enemy is going to have tick damage. And radiation is very similar to corrosive in a way, but it takes out shield instead of armor. So always try and remember that. So thank you very much for watching today's video. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next video.